Hello everyone and welcome back to the WW2 Solitaire board game channel. Gonna do a little bit of a different video today. I'm not very used to having the camera in front of me in this way, pointed at me. Usually it's pointed away from me at the game that I'm playing. But I would say that the most common message that I get, the most frequently asked question is, "Hey Dan, could you recommend your favorite solitaire board games to me?" So I thought it would be fun to do a video on it. And two things to note before we go look at my top favorite games is that first of all, it's just going to be World War II games. So there's a bunch of other great games out there, Space Marine and whatever with Vietnam War team and so on. But this is just going to be World War II, and that is because I prefer to just play World War II. And even though I know there are great games of other themes, doesn't necessarily have to be even war, just a solo game. I like to limit myself because I kind of get super interested in anything that I do. And if I don't limit myself to, for example, World War II, it's going to be impossible for me to do something with it, which I'm going to be satisfied with. Because I have this kind of mind that if I'm doing something, I have to do it and really learn everything about it. And, maybe a little bit of autism there. But anyway, let's get to it. Number 5 is going to be Pattons Best. Oof, I would not have thought this as I came up with the idea of making the video. I still had not really learned Pattons Best. I did not think Pattons Best would be on number 5 on this list, but it is. Pattons Best is a great game. I love it. It has both many good sides and many bad sides. And the good sides with it is that it's so detailed. It's a narrative game, and typically for narrative games, there's not much play choices. Some are a little bit extreme, like B-17 Queen of the Skies. It is really limited in the amount of play choices that you have, but it's still a fun ride. But with Pattons Best, it is a narrative experience. However, there is lots of play choices. You get to decide which tank you want to serve in once you have enough, a good score. Do you want to be in that jumbo, even though it has a higher armor class? But it's much more likely to be the lead tank. Do you want to risk your commander's life by firing the 50 cal as advancing fire versus Panzerfaust? Because if you get an enemy artillery attack, it's might become a serious wound or have your commander killed in action. What type of ammunition are you going to use? How much of it are you going to load? Are you gonna pivot and face the 88 or pivot and face the Tiger tank? There are so many choices in this game, and I love it for that. It's a narrative game, but with lots and lots of choices. And it's so detailed, it is beautiful in an old school kind of way. The tank cards are beautiful. I like the counters, and I like the board as well. And I thought also I'd like to mention something negative about every game, because there is no perfect games. Of course, there is not. And there will never be. So there are, of course, downsides. And the downsides with Pattons Best is that it can have... the rules are hard. I've seen many people say the rules are easy, but I don't think they are. I think they're hard in the sense that there are so many exceptions that you need to have in the back of your head all the time. For example, just an example, the loader cannot fire the Thompson submachine gun if you are in a B turret. So you're gonna have, you gotta have that in the back of your head. And when rolling for a reward, if your commander was exposed during a roll of random event harassing fire, that's gonna give you a +5 modifier to rolling for that award. And there is no really way to remember that unless you specifically make a note that the commander took harassing fire while exposed. So that is the bad parts of the game. But once, I mean, obviously I have this in the back of my head now because I played it so much. And when you played it a lot, those things are gonna start to stuck. But in the beginning, it is a pain because there are gonna be a lot of mistakes during the beginning of your campaign, your first campaign. And if you watch my playthrough, I still got a playthrough going of this. I'm gonna play until the commander is killed in action or sent home, and I'm still doing a few mistakes in every video. So you know, I call it just fog of war, and this is the very first time that I accept that. Because with other good games, if I did some error, I would, even if you know the hunters, I did a long campaign, I would restart. Because I felt so stupid with that mistake. But with Pattons Best, I've learned to accept it. I just call it fog of war. Anyway, Pattons Best is going to be number 5 on my list of favorite WW2 Solitaire board games. For number 4, we are going to have 20th Air Force by Fortress Games. This is a folio game, and it is about the 20th Air Force bombing campaign against Japan, 1944 to 1945. Fortress Games is a small publisher, not well known, and I would say 20th Air Force not very well known either, which is a shame because it is a great game. It is really a great game. Let's start by why I love this game and why it's number 4 on my list. First of all, I got into solitaire board gaming because I used to be a PC gamer. I'd also play on consoles, but favorite was to play on the PC. And I love to play World War II strategy games like Company of Heroes, Panzers, you know, all of those games. But then I started to run out of games, and there was still, I mean, there's hundreds of World War II games, but there's not very many really good ones. So that is why I started looking at board games. And the reason why I love the 20th Air Force is because the 20th Air Force is the most video game, PC game like board game that I've ever played. It definitely feels like you're playing a PC game. There's so many cool parts of this game, and you have so many choices. You have choices on research. You know, do you want to go for the A-bomb first? Do you want to do this first? Do you want to train your crew? So that's a really cool part of it. Here, for example, you can research for 1 point, training cost. You can research reconnaissance cost, incendiaries cost. Then you go ahead to research atom bomb cost, and there's just a bunch of research that you can. I mean, I think it's genius because it gives you, the player, much more choice, and depending on what way you choose to go, there can be a totally different outcome to the game. Just a very fun game, and if I'm gonna say something negative about it, I think it is rather obvious. If we again look here at the research box, it is, I mean, there's no graphics to it. It's just numbers and some color here, numbers and letters. And I mean, I understand Fortress Games is a small company, so I'm not expecting to have something grand. But if I were to wish for something for the 20th Air Force, it would definitely be to be released in a big box like Pattons Best, with updated graphics and some better looking counters, because the counters aren't, I mean, the counters are very much like, I actually have them over here. The counters are very much like that chart. They're very basic. I don't know if you can see them here, but if you can't see them here, just pop onto my channel and search for 20th Air Force, and you'll see that, yeah, it is very basic, the graphics of the game. But I mean, I like to have the graphics because it helps your imagination to better, see the narrative of the game. But it's not a deal breaker. it is still very, very fun. And if you can get past that, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this game. I promise you that. And I'm not personally very interested in air warfare or bombing campaigns, but there is just something about this game that is it is so fun. Okay, so we're gonna look at number 3 of the list. This was number 4. So number 3 on the list is gonna be Warfighter World War II. The World War II tactical combat card game from DVG, that's Danverson Games. Okay, this is just a wonderful, wonderful game, and I think if you just look at the community of players of Warfighter, you will understand that it's a special game, because a community would not grow so strong and big if it wasn't a really great game. And I mean, if you ask a question of World War II, the Warfighter, in Board Game Geeks forum or in the Facebook group, you're gonna have an answer within minutes, you know, and people know every little single rule, and it's just awesome. And the game itself, yeah, the game itself is so fun. It is more of I know some people describe it as Hollywood style, like you have a few usually quite strong soldiers, and you can take on quite a lot of Germans or you know, Russians, whatever you intend to play. And it can be that, but you also have the option. You also have the option to choose because before you start your mission, you have resources, and you can choose whatever you want to have: a few very strong soldiers or several a little bit weaker soldiers. But I will agree. I go towards stronger soldiers, but still somewhere in the middle. So I don't go with the cheapest ones, but and not the strongest ones either, but somewhere in the middle, leaning towards the stronger soldiers. It is just so fun. I mean, with the cards, with the beautiful art, original period photos, I can really imagine being there. I can really imagine being part of this squad that I have created. Other than that, I think the expansions are fantastic. Some people, I guess, would complain like, "Oh, there's 200 expansions. You know, how can I buy them all?" I don't think you're ever meant to buy them all unless you're a hardcore fan. I know some Warfighter fans are, and they have them all. But I think that it's more meant, like for me, example, since my mother is Finnish, so I have an interest in the Finnish Winter War. My grandfather took part of it, so I went ahead and got the expansions for Russia. So expansion number 9 and 10, which is Russia, and then expansion number 32 and 33, which is Finland. So now I can, with these expansions packs, I can recreate the Finnish Winter War, the Continuation War, and the Lapland War. And that is, the first two wars were against the Russians, and the last war, the Lapland War, was of course against the Germans, which are included in the main pack. So the main pack has Americans and Germans. And I think that is just wonderful. I mean, there is so many expansions. There is for Norway, for specific islands in the Pacific, for specific nations which you might have a you know, specific interest in. So I think the option you have with expansions is just amazing. There are several World War II ones, 2 unreleased ones. That's North Africa and Italy, I want to remember, or the Mediterranean is actually called. And then there is the Pacific. I prefer the World War II European one. It's a little bit more basic. With the Pacific and with many of the expansions, you have to roll for weather conditions, exposure, it is called. It's not really my favorite part of the game, so I do prefer the European one. We should say something bad about this game, because I've said something bad about all of the games. I can't really come up with something super bad. The only thing I thought was annoying was that there was a little bit when you got the game, and there's so many cards, and you feel very uncertain of which cards are for what. And the reason for that was because they included all of the Kickstarter cards, which had specifically named soldiers and so on. So I had to do quite a bit of research to find out which cards to take out of the main game, and some cards had with Pacific. So there you can see it, Warfighter Pacific. It had errata or errata, however you pronounce it, cards. Also there you had to do research to really figure out, because some of the cards are not 100% correct of what they were intended to be. But once you go through that and once you got it done, I actually posted a guide on Board Game Geek, so you don't have to go through that trouble yourself. So once you do that with my guide, it's going to take maybe 10-15 minutes. You're ready to go. But yeah, that would be my only complaint with Warfighter, the World War II tactical combat card game, which is number 3 on my list of favorite World War II solitaire board games. Okay, so what are we gonna have for our place number 2? Paolo's House. That is gonna be another DVG title. Oh man, how I love Pavlov's House. Pavlov's House is the second solo game I ever got. The first one was Field Commander Rommel, and Pavlov's House was the second one I ever got, and I just fell in love immediately. An awesome game. There's a second edition released now. This is the first edition. Both of them were good. It's a State of Siege engine, of course, from designer David Thompson's famous Valiant Defense series. There's currently 4 of them out, and there's a 5th on the way to Kickstarter. Awesome game. We are defending Pavlov's House during the Battle of Stalingrad in Russia, of course. Why do I love this game? Very easy to say. There are so many player choices. There are so many player choices, more than any other State of Siege engine that I've played, because you have not only the tactical level where you decide if your soldiers wanna suppress, if they wanna fire, if you wanna go with, you know, machine guns or mortars. What position do you want to be in? All of those choices. You have your commander, which can inspire and command. But besides that tactical level, you have the operational level, which is awesome because it makes this game. Without the operational level, it would be something entirely different. With operational level, we get to decide, do we want to focus on communications? Do we want to focus on bringing in supplies to the house so we can suppress more? Do we want to focus on AA? Because we're going to have Stukas attacking our supply lines and our communications wire and much more. There are so many things to keep in your head, and I'm not saying it's a complicated game, because it's not. It's rather easy, but there are so many moving parts and you're part of it, and every little choice you make will have, most likely will have some kind of change the outcome of the game. It is just, even though this is only 2 on my list, I will say that this is the best design I've ever played. This is even better than number 1 on my list, but we'll get to that in a bit. This is the best designed game that I've ever played, and nothing even comes close. It is a masterpiece. I gotta say something negative about each game, so I would say also about Pavlov's House. What I don't like about Pavlov's House is the graphics. I think the board is just okay, but I think the cards aren't very fun. There's just a shadow of a tank or an enemy soldier. The counters aren't specifically good either. I do like the Soviet counters because they have the original photos of the soldiers. The soldiers they could not find photos of is just also a shadow, so they could have done them better. But yeah, there's gonna be my only complaint about Pavlov's House, that it doesn't have very nice graphics on the board and the cards and some of the counters. If I should take it to an extreme level, I would also give a complaint that there is no expansion pack for this. Because come on, this is the best game from DVG. Kind of spoiled number 1 there. But yeah, this is the best game from DVG. It's the best designed game that I've ever played. It deserves an expansion or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, Warfighter has hundreds. Pavlov's House should have at least 1. Because it's just so good. And yeah, we'll see what happens. It's not impossible. Okay, so for the very best game, Okay, so for number one, my total favorite number one World War II solitaire board game, and actually my number one of all solitaire games that I've ever played, is going to be The Hunters. German U-boats at war, 1939 to 43. Published by GMT, it's designed by Gregory Smith. Gregory Smith is, of course, famous in the solitaire wargaming community. He has designed not only the Hunters, but the Hunted, Silent Victory, Beneath the Med, Interceptor Ace, Night Fighter Ace, America Bomber, newly released American Tank Ace. I know there's a World War One submarine game he designed, and I'm sure I've missed something. He has designed a bunch of games, and they're all very much similar in the way that they are narrative games, and similar to Pattons Best and B-17 Queen of the Skies, but except we're in a German submarine in the first half of the war. So the first thing I want to say, the positive things about this game, and just compared to Pavlov's House. Pavlov's House, I said that Pavlov's House is the best designed game that I've ever played, and that is also correct. I think the design is better than this. However, I've had more fun with this. So if that makes sense to you, I hope it does. Otherwise, we can have a discussion about it in the comment section. But that is how I define it. Pavlov's House, better design, more clever design, more polished. But the Hunters, I have more fun with, and I mean, I've had so much fun with the Hunters. I have played this game like no other game. I've played it so much, and I have screamed, I have cried, I have laughed, I have felt so strong. And to have a board game to give you strong feelings like, excitement and almost like fear, being nervous, being incredibly happy when you found the Empress of Britain and hits her with 4 torpedoes, that is an awesome accomplishment by any game. And that is really something the Hunters does well. And I'll admit, when I started playing the Hunters, I knew nothing about submarines at all and doesn't really specifically interest me. But it was so highly rated that I thought like, okay, I gotta give this game a chance. And I started watching submarine movies like Das Boot, of course, the series actually, which is much better than the movie. And I'm not talking about the new series, which is okay. I'm talking about the original series because Das Boot was a series of, I think, 6 or 8 episodes, miniseries, and then they made it into a movie for the European American market. So you can find it on Amazon. It's just awesome. And I started reading books, whatever, looking at information because it piqued my interest in submarines. And once I had seen the movies and so on, I could really, the narrative of the game, I could see it in front of me. I could experience it and feel it. And yes, it is awesome. I mentioned in Pavlov's House that one bad thing is we don't have expansions, and in the Hunters we actually do, and I'm currently playing this one, Type UA, which you can find a playthrough on my channel. There is a mini expansion released in a games magazine with 2 new types of submarines. That is just awesome. That is, I mean, like a small dream for me to have an expansion for one of my favorite games. So that's awesome, and we're also hoping that there's going to be more expansions. There is also a sequel to this game, which is The Hunted. So I'm very much looking forward to trying that out. I'm hoping to get one from GMT, but we'll see if I do or not. But anyway, The Hunters on its own is an amazing and really great game, and I should also say one negative point about it because I have said so about all of the other games. And the negative point about The Hunter I would like to say is I didn't find the rules very easy to learn. There are a lot of exceptions, and another thing is that with the charts, for some reason, I mean, I want to have my charts on separate charts, right? I don't want to have them spread out. So, for example, here we have the chart for U-boat patrol assignments, and here we have for deck gunfire and torpedo fire charts. And I'm fine with having some charts on the game board or on a mounted board or such. That is also fine, even though I prefer to have them only on separate charts. But in this game, we have the charts in the rules. We have Arctic patrols, follow damaged ships, crew advancement, starting ranks charts, and then you have even charts inside of the rules. Here we have the chart for the optional rule of escort quality and airplane quality of the crew, and then I think we even have here's starting rank. I think we saw that on the back, and I want to remember that there is a separate chart for Arctic patrols day. Yeah, here we have it. Arctic patrols day night time. It is in the rules, page number 9. That is the middle of the rules. I mean, if I end in the Arctic and I'm gonna have a permanent assignment to the Arctic, I do not want to be rolling on a chart in the middle of the rule book for every remaining game that I have in my campaign. It is not a big thing. It is definitely not a big thing. And I'm sure people are going to be a little bit pissed with me because I'm bitching about these things. But it is a bad thing. It is not a big thing, but it is a bad thing. And I just want to, I'm presenting highly subjective, keep in mind, my favorite solitaire war games. And I just, for the balance, I would like to also say what I don't like about them, to not just give praise, you know. And again, this is not the top 5 best, you know, WW2 solitaire games out there. These are not the top 5 best. These are my top 5 favorites. So a highly subjective opinion, of course. Well, there you have it, guys. It is going to be Pattons best, number 5. Number 4, we have 20th Air Force. Number 3, we have Warfighter World War II. Number 2, we have Pavlov's House. Number 1, we have The Hunters. I hope that you check out these games. If you don't know too much about them, you can find playthrough videos of all of them on my board game channel, the WW2 Solitaire board game channel. And other than that, I hope that you take your time and subscribe to the channel. If you also like the video and comment on it, also helps me out a lot. Other than that, I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.